Hello, I'm Jake Dailey, Disabled American Veterans, past District 2 Commander, and today I present the Disabled American Veterans 2010 Veterans Day message. Thus be it ever when free men shall stand between their home and war's desolation, blessed with victory and peace, may the heaven-rescued land praise the power that hath made and preserved us a nation. That is the fourth stanza of Francis Scott Key's glorious poem, The Star-Spangled Banner. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patriotism. Each one of you viewing this today are participating in recognizing and honoring the service and sacrifice of our nation's veterans. Many of our citizens are not aware or don't care about observance of Veterans Day, and that's not an uncommon occurrence, given America's aversion to inconvenience and the willingness to forget the importance of military service, even as we supposedly remain a nation at war. I say supposedly because the question lingers. Are we a nation at war? Yes, we are, but it certainly doesn't seem like it. We hear the label warrior and hero used so loosely today, even to describe sports figures. Where does this leave our actual heroes? What about our men and women in harm's way? But this is due in part to the fact that such a small percentage of our nation serves or has ever served in uniform. This is not a value judgment, just a realistic observation. But we know who the real heroes are. And unfortunately, as a nation, we possess an ability to collectively turn a blind eye to the military and veteran communities except on Veterans Day, Memorial Day, and the 24-hour news cycle following a WikiLeaks scandal. I think we are the less for this forgetfulness. These thoughts bring to mind the dark days following the terror attacks of 9/11. Stunned and bloodied by those horrific acts of terrorism, we briefly turned away from the distraction of movies, sporting events, and stock portfolios to assess what was truly important. A common thread we saw woven through countless stories in 2002 was of combat veterans of previous eras, especially Vietnam, reaching out with fervor and determination to young service men and women returning from Afghanistan. If I were to offer a fair summary of countless quotes in television, radio, and print pieces during those incredibly patriotic first years of what was being called a war on terror, it would go something like this. I will do everything I can to make sure these heroes get the welcome home so many didn't get 25 and 30 years ago. Men and women of every political stripe bonded together to support our troops, especially those suffering wounds as a consequence of their service. During the Vietnam War, we failed to separate our feelings for the war from the warrior summoned to fight it. We promised ourselves it would not happen again, but I'm sad to say it is happening again now. We have just replaced anger with indifference. The recent announcement of the end of combat operations in Iraq signaled an virtual media blackout for coverage in that country, even as our brave men and women in uniform continue to fight, become injured, and die there. Afghanistan is now America's longest war. The Support Our Troops and Remember 9/11 bumper stickers are fading after nearly a decade of combat in that distant, ancient land. And as the stickers fade, so does our collective interest in what our men and women in uniform are enduring on our behalf. The intensity of the fighting there is increasing, and the casualty rate climbs. But here on the home front, we are concerned mostly about economic growth and unemployment. which is why I scratch my head when I think about how little discussion there is of the unemployment rate for veterans of Iraq and Afghanistan, which tripled from 2007 to 2010. As the nation suffers through unemployment approaching 10%, more than 15% of these young veterans found themselves out of work as of March of this year, according to the U.S. Department of Labor. We talk about a national malaise prompted by economic woes, but we hear so little of the malaise and combat fatigue that prompts 30 U.S. veterans to attempt suicide every day. On its own, the Army, with at least 120 suicides so far this year, is tragically on pace to break last year's all-time high of 162 suicides. What's more, a recent study of California veterans between the ages of 18 and 25 found that these young men and women are not only 2.5 times more likely to commit suicide than civilians of the same age, they are twice as likely to die in a car accident and 5.5 times more likely to be killed on a motorcycle. Homeless shelters are reporting an influx of young veterans, both male and female, and substance abuse continues to claim the lives and livelihoods of only recently marked by the peak physical prowess of military service. With 3, 4, and 5 tours or more in Iraq, a common experience for many active duty, Guard, and Reserve service members, it should come as no surprise that so many have discovered their breaking point. But how would we know this? The war is out of sight, out of mind. A nation seemingly obsessed with convenience, we can conveniently shrug off any thoughts of the sacrifices made on our behalf. As heartbreaking as it is to say, it sometimes feels as if we live less and less in the world that our parents, grandparents, and more distant ancestors created for us. But this is the same nation, and I believe it is time we started acting like it. That you are here today tells me that you are part of a minority of American citizens who love, support, and appreciate our veterans enough to take a hard look at the often harsh realities they face. You understand that on Veterans Day we honor the men and women whose service and sacrifice have provided the liberty we enjoy. You know this is more than just a day off work, a few weeks before Thanksgiving Day. I'm honored to speak to men and women who understand the important work of the DAV. Through our constant struggle for honor, respect, and support due to disabled veterans of all wars, we work to foster a national culture of respect for each and every man and woman who has served. The DAV has been serving veterans for more than 90 years. In this time, we have learned some very important lessons about how fickle support for veterans can be. Your and my responsibility is to commit ourselves to making a brighter future for the men and women who've given so much to make our way of life possible. We need to honor that promise of never again, made almost a decade ago. We must vow to lift our veterans into the light and struggle against the indifference and neglect that is once again beginning to show among the public and our political leaders. Oh, thus be it ever when free men shall stand between their loved homes and war's desolation, blessed with victory and peace, praise the power that hath made and preserved us a nation. May that noble spirit forever influence our national awareness. Thank you for remembering our veterans and all they have done to make America great. May God bless each and every one of you who strive against indifference. May God bless and protect our men and women in harm's way. May God bless our veterans who've kept our country free. And God bless America. Thank you.